Hey, this is Matt Wimmer from Broudy Precision, and this week we are taking a look at a new resource that's available to our customers and users on BP Tech Center, and that's our controller comparison matrix. It's basically a spreadsheet with a whole lot of details about all of the controller lines that we carry and the different features that they have so that you can make an informed decision about which controller that you should use for a particular job and your particular needs. So let's jump into Excel and take a look. All right, so the first thing you'll notice when you open up this document is that there's a whole bunch of tabs at the bottom for a couple different categories of things. So we're looking at unitary controllers, VAV controllers, sensors, expansion modules, supervisory controllers, and then we also have a touchscreen displays option down here as well. So we'll look at the first page first, and this is our unitary controllers. You can see we got a whole bunch of them here. 60 plus controller options here for you to look at. And we start with their first column, just the name of the controller. We got our model name of the controller. These model names are links to the controllers and devices on our web store. So if you want to check pricing, availability, that kind of thing, really easy way for you to do it from there. Then we've got a brand column. This is nice because you can go in here to the filter and filter out different manufacturers if you wanted to do that. Then we get into our I/O counts. So the first column is going to be our total I/O count, and then we start breaking it up based on the type of I/O that it is. So G column is going to be our universal inputs. Then we've got our analog inputs, universal inputs and outputs if the controller has it. Obviously, the number of controllers that have that kind of thing is sort of limited right now, but it is a separate column. Then we get into our outputs, so that's our universal output, analog output, and digital input, and then digital output. And then we also have our relay outputs. Obviously, counts match up with the number of those things that the device has. Then we get into a column that's a little bit more wide. This is our communications column, so it's going to tell you what kind of protocol that the device can speak. So first batch here are MSTP. Then we get into IP controllers. You can see on the optimizers, we've got the T1L listed there, and then some of these can speak multiple things. So we've got some that have IP MSTP, and then we've got some that have Wi-Fi in addition to that as well. Then we jump over to another good to know piece. That's our programming tool host, and that's basically telling us what we need to use to program this controller. So all of our Honeywell ones, we are programming through the tools that are in Niagara. We don't need to use a separate program or for that. Then we get into the Johnson and the other manufacturers where there is a separate tool that you need to use in order to do that programming. Next, if we've got a display on the controller or not, some controllers have that display as an option, some have it, and then obviously a lot don't have it. Then we get into whether or not the controller has a web server, whether or not we can serve up graphics, data that way, and whether or not the controller is programmable or configurable. Most of the controllers listed here are going to be fully programmable, but there are a few that you can use in a configurable kind of way. Then can we do scheduling with them? Can we do alarms with them? Can we plug sensors in? Do they have their own specific sensor bus for sensors? So most of the Honeywell controllers can do Silk. And then you get into the Johnson controllers, which have their SA bus. And then we get into expansion. So we've got SIO for some of these. We've got PCX kind of things for some of these. And we go from there. So that's the unitary controllers portion. VAV controllers follows along basically with the same types of information. Controller name, model number, again with the links to the web store, are all of our inputs and outputs, communication stuff, details about what the controller is capable of doing, and then some additional notes. Obviously, the notes are going to be a little bit more helpful on these VAV controllers because there tends to be a little bit more flexibility about what's in there, what's not in there. You can see some of these have Bluetooth, some of these have the actuator built in. You have an additional universal input on these ones for velocity pressure, and other ones have that as well, that kind of thing. So just keep in mind the notes that are there. Then we get into our sensors. Sensors is laid out a little bit differently in that we have all of our individual sensors and models as we're used to for the rows, but now the columns are which controllers that those sensors can be used with. So obviously our Honeywell ones are usable with the specific Honeywell models, and so on and so on for the other manufacturers. And then we get into the comms, just a little bit of explanation about what the communications looks like for those, and then whether or not they have a display, whether or not you can configure them, choose what kind of data shows up on the display, and then your notes about what's required. Some of these have different requirements for power. These ones are 4-wire, so you've got communication and power over them, that kind of thing. Next up is our expansion. Again, this follows along with the same layout as our unitary and VAV controllers. That's basically identical for those. Then we get into supervisory controllers. Very, very similar again, but these are different devices, obviously, because they are supervisory controllers and not just regular controllers. Again, all of our links go out to the web store. We've got our UI information, and then our communications platform that it's used on, and the different features. And then we've got some additional notes on these for about the amount of devices that they can supervise, the kind of protocols that they can bring in, like for our Cyber 50s, the kind of limits that you have on your panel bus expansion, that kind of thing is all listed in our notes. And then the last sheet in this workbook is on touchscreen displays. Now, there's a lot of options here for touchscreen displays. We try to whittle it down to the ones that we like the most. So we've got for this our size, our resolution, the type of screen touch that it does. So you're used to your smartphone. That is a capacitive touch screen, where it's basically a sheet of glass, and then your finger getting close to the screen. There's some sensors in there that notice that. Versus resistive, that's the older style, where you're physically almost like pushing the screen, and the screen's moving, and that's how it knows that you're touching. So that's noted here. Operating system that it's running, what kind of connection that we have. So is it normal Ethernet, RJ45, or do we have wireless, that kind of thing. Whether or not it's using a browser, what kind of browser it's using. Are we using a specific tool to program it? Is it not HTML5 based? And then what kind of power requirements there are, how we can mount it, protection class, so how good it is with ingress of water and that kind of thing. And then our operating range for temperatures. And then some additional notes, again, about most of these are a little bit more information about the rating of the protection class of the display. For these, there's a little bit more notes at the bottom for a few of those display types to give you a little bit more detail. And that is basically our new comparison matrix that we have for controllers, expansion modules, and touchscreen displays. This is something that we've had internally for a little while now. We thought it was so valuable that why not share it to the world and give you guys a little bit of an easier time selecting controllers and devices. So if you want to grab a copy of our matrix, all you have to do is go over to bptechcenter.com, create an account if you haven't already, and then you will see, right now at least, it's underneath our newest download section, this controller comparison matrix, and you can download it from here, or you can go up to Vendors and Broudy Precision, and then scroll down a bit, and then you will see Controller Comparison Matrix, and you can download it from there as well. We'll keep that updated as we make changes and things to it. That's going to be the spot for you to grab it. So hopefully that's helpful and useful for you. If there's anything that you want to see on it, you can leave a comment down below or let us know. We'd be happy to take those thoughts in. As I said, this is something that we've been using internally for a little while now. Frank in engineering started putting this together quite a little while ago now. So thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a comment down below if you have any questions or anything you'd like to see on this YouTube channel, and we'll see you again next week. Thanks.